All right. So, good afternoon and welcome to the session on Agile transformations. My name is Ognjen Bajic and I come from Croatian company Agilist IT from Zagreb. My colleague Anna, who participated in the preparation of the slides and the presentation, couldn't make it to this session, so you're stuck with me. So, let's start with just a brief introduction. I've been doing software development for over a quarter of a century now. For the last 15 plus years, I've been helping teams and organizations improve their DevOps practices. I've also been certified by Scrum.org as a professional Scrum trainer. So, about agenda, we'll start with a description of an Agile organization, description of challenges that you face during an Agile transformation, and then we'll explain our approach, some practices that we recommend, and then we'll present a couple of case studies of companies that have been successfully running their transformations. So, what does an Agile company, an Agile organization look like? An Agile organization is optimized for adaptability, for learning. They are able to continuously and quickly deliver value to end users and learn from the feedback and act upon those learnings. So they are able to quickly adapt to the changing circumstances on the market. They usually have optimized value stream and are consisting of different teams which are cross-functional, self-managing, and the teams are usually organized around products instead of projects. Unfortunately, it's not easy to build such an organization, and Agile transformations are notorious for their failure rate. There is a famous statement by Ken Schwaber, who is one of the authors of Scrum, who stated that only 30% of organizations that introduce Scrum will become successful development organizations. And there are different sources stating different numbers, different percentages of failing Agile and other organizational transformations. So we see numbers as high as 60, 70, 90% of failed transformations. So why do these transformations fail? What is it so difficult in regards to the transformation? Well, you have to change the company culture. You have to change the ways they work. You have to deal with this is the way how we do it around here type of thinking, and you have to change the way they do things around there. You need to help them change their behaviors, and also to restructure the organization in such a way that will encourage that changed behavior. And also the management style, the type of management that they exercise should get upside down. Instead of management directing from above, they should be serving from below. So each one of these items would be difficult, but together they make the transformation, well, complex. Fortunately, there is a solution. Scrum is just the type of framework meant to be used to solve complex problems. So Scrum has been designed to help teams and organizations solve complex problems, problems in which there is more unknown than there is known. So why not combine the two and use Scrum in order to run your Agile transformation? Sounds nice and easy. Unfortunately, Scrum in itself is just the easy part, because culture eats process for breakfast. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. So if you ignore organizational culture in your transformation is bound to fail. any changes in the way they work will not sustain, and the old behaviors will strike back very soon. So in the transformation, you have to deal with their values, their assumptions, their beliefs, the way they work, and if you don't do that, well, no chance for you to succeed. So this was just like description of couple of the main challenges that we face during the transformation. And well, we are all in for lean thinking and not doing more preparations than necessary. But there is a certain amount of preparations that is necessary for any agile transformation. And we have to start with an assessment of current status of every team or of the organization in general. And we'll do the assessment in different ways. So we'll do the Gemba walk. We'll go and see people and teams while they work. We'll interview them. We'll give them questionnaires in order to understand the challenges and the impediments that they face in their daily work. We'll also do the value stream mapping for any major value streams in order to understand which activities are value adding, which are not value adding. And we will make a note of any tools that they use, any automation that they use, any quality and other related policies that they implement in their work. All of this in order to understand the challenges that they face, in order to identify them and then make the list of the challenges in the order of the amount of the impact that those challenges make on their process. Once we've identified the main challenges, we can move into the second phase, in which we would do a number of workshops together with people from the organization in order to discuss those challenges, in order to address them and find the ways to approach solving those challenges. Well, we don't aspire to find the solutions right away, but at least to find an approach to solving them and to picture a future in which those challenges are solved. So, and those will become entries in the future product backlog for the optimization, for the transformation. Once, and remember from the keynote, so this is the problem space and this is the solution space. But that's not enough. The third part, or maybe in the order of importance, the first part is to engage the management. If you ignore, especially middle management, then you don't stand a chance. Imagine the teams started working in a new way, and the middle management still works in their old ways. And as soon as the middle management sees that there are changes and there is something happened which isn't in the way it should be, well, they'll break it. They will oppose it, and they are able to kill your transformation on the day one. So you better make them your friends and your allies instead of making them your enemies. So you should engage with middle management and with management in general, educate them, let them understand agile principles, lean principles, benefits that you expect from a newly changed organization, and help them be engaged in the transformation instead of being an enemy of the transformation. Once you've done the preparations, you're ready to jumpstart the product group or the whole engineering organization. You should revisit the team design, you should revisit the design of the product groups and understand any dependencies and ideally minimize them in order to help possible scaling. And also introduce any policies that you want to introduce at the global level, like quality-related things, DoD, DOR, or any additional complementary practices that you would like to introduce company-wide. Okay, so let's discuss at the global level or somewhat philosophical level the approach. So from top down, there goes the enablement. The management should provide a context in which the teams can thrive. And from bottom up, you will have the transformation. So the enablement part is provided by the management creating or defining the values, defining the strategy, providing the appraisal system that will be in line and that will encourage new behaviors that we want to see in the teams. And at the same time, the teams should become empowered and should own their processes. Once they own their processes and once they feel accountable for their result, but also for their processes, they will be in much better situation to start improving them. How would they do that? By doing a series of experiments, trying and failing or succeeding. No one knows what the solutions are that will work, but by doing experiments, we will learn what the solutions are. So once again, from top down, we have the alignment with the transformation. And from bottom up, we have the autonomy of the teams. All right. So what does it really look like? We have two basic main processes. One at the global level, one at the company-wide level, where something that we call central optimization team, you could call it any way you like, does their work. And then at the level of each team, which transforms the way they work by executing two parallel simultaneous Scrum processes. One for their production work. They still need to deliver value to end users despite the transformation. We can't just do the transformation. But in parallel to the production work, they should do the optimization Scrum, and we'll discuss that briefly soon enough. Okay, so let's start with the discussion of the process at the global level. So there we have the central optimization team, which is just another Scrum team. And their product is transformed organization. And that's it. What they do are the global company-wide things. So the changes that have company-wide effect. They introduce values, new policies. They enable new capabilities, remove organizational impediments, introduce new tools at the organizational level. So they provide the context in which the teams will be able to transform their work. Okay, so who is there? So the membership in the COT, probably the most important member is your executive level sponsor. So you should better have at least one executive level sponsor, otherwise you don't stand a chance. So this is probably the most important member of the team. But otherwise, you should have representatives of different parts of the organization so that you have the ability to reach out to them and influence their work. And also middle management. Remember the middle management. Well, making them a part of the COT would be the best way to engage them. And you really want them to engage in the transformation, because otherwise they might become an enemy. So the middle management should be on board. Scrum Masters. Who do the Scrum Masters serve? By definition, they serve their product owners, developers, and the wider organization. By being a part of the COT, Scrum Masters definitely serve the wider organization. And then internal, external coaches. They are facilitators of the team and of the transformation in general. Additionally, we might like to have some experienced employees, some experienced people from the organization, experienced in the way the organization ticks. They might know pragmatic, or they might be able to come up with pragmatic solution to some practical questions, practical problems that you would face. So this is the membership. But how about the accountabilities in the COT? Well, your executive sponsor might be the best possible product owner for the COT. They have the leverage, they are empowered, and they have the stake in the transformation. Any knowledge or capabilities they might be lacking could be compensated by the help of other members of the team, and obviously internal and external stakeholders should facilitate and should also consult the product owner in their work. They would do that anyway. Scrum Master for the COT would be one of the Scrum Masters from the organization. The rest of the members are simply the developers. And here, well, we single out the external coaches because they have a special role in the sense that they facilitate the work of the whole team, COT, but also facilitate and consult the product owner and then influence the transformation in large. Simply they ensure the viability, ensure the continuity of the transformation. Okay. Unfortunately, that's not really legible, but this is the backlog of the COT. These are the activities, these are the changes that they would like to introduce in the organization. All of these, well, this is the epic level, and they can be worked out to the feature level, PBI level. Obviously, with this splitting of the product backlog items, we want to have small enough changes so that we can see a nice flow to the process of the COT, of the team itself. So it's not about how large your change is. It's about continuity and about viability of the process. So sprint after sprint, it will add up. All right, so this was the global level, the level of the whole company. Each team also transforms themselves. They own their process, they improve their process, they are there to optimize their process. And they are accountable for the success of their production work, but also for the success of the optimization of their production work. So, as already mentioned, they run two parallel scrums, one for the production development, but also another one for the optimization, where they reserve certain percentage of their capacity for the optimization scrum. That might not be too much. So even with 10% of their capacity, they would get, well, about 40 minutes a day on the average. So it might seem not too much, but it adds up. And sprint after sprint, they will introduce changes in the way they work. And also they can be influenced and they can bring on the changes that they see in their neighboring teams. Such lateral type of distribution of changes in a company is important because if it works out for my neighbor, well, there is a good chance that it might work for me and I can benefit from some experiments that they run and I don't need to. All right, so what does the process look like for them? The goal of the optimization scrum is to bring them from zero or wherever they were at the beginning. They might have been working as a scrum team for some time already, to fully functional, effective scrum team. And that optimization process never ends. They might be mature and robust, and there is always another sprint in which they can improve their work. They work based on separate product backlog dedicated to the optimization. By having separation between the production product backlog and the optimization product backlog, we ensure that the priorities from the production work don't kill the optimization work. So we can be certain that there will be some optimizations, despite the small amount of a small percentage of their capacity, that there will be some optimizations in each sprint. Okay, accountabilities. In the optimization Scrum, the product owner could be an internal or external coach, or could be some member of the COT. Scrum Master is the Scrum Master of that team, and the rest are the developers. As far as the events, Scrum events for the optimization, for, well, both Scrums as it turns out, the most of the events will simply have two parts. They will start with the part dedicated to the optimization Scrum, and then will continue with the part dedicated to the production Scrum. So, for instance, in their daily Scrum, they will start with a time box of up to 15 minutes dedicated to daily Scrum for the optimization work, and continue with up to 15 minutes of their daily Scrum dedicated for their production work. And as it goes with any time box, if you reach the goal of an event and there is more time in the time box, well, you can save some time. So it doesn't mean that each of their dailies will last 30 minutes. There is a good chance that they will simply be done with the optimization Scrum soon enough, and that everything can be done within 15 or 20 minutes or even less. Okay, the retrospective. There is only one. They retrospect their way of work. And try to improve their way of work, and try to find improvements that could improve the optimization Scrum and the production Scrum as well. This is the backlog. At the beginning, most of the backlogs for the teams, for the optimization of teams, can be based on a template, because the organization, wants the teams to have similar capabilities. But then the backlogs are heavily influenced by the findings from the preparation phase, where we worked with teams, we interviewed them, observed them, and so on, and identified the problems that they face, and addressed those problems. And the results of those workshops ended up in the optimization backlogs for each particular team. So in the end, all of these product backlogs for the optimization of teams will be evolving and will be special. Okay, once again, we want fine-grained product backlog items on those backlogs. Okay, some practices that we recommend that we believe make sense everywhere. First, well, DevOps really nicely correlates with agility. You remember my definition of an agile organization. They are able to quickly and frequently deliver value to end users, which is a definition of DevOps. So it makes sense, while thinking about the strategy of your agile transformation, to think about 3 ways of DevOps. First way, discussing the whole value stream end to end. Instead of optimizing just one part of it, development or IT, we should strive to observe and, well, think system thinking, observe the entirety of their value stream, including the sales and marketing and whatnot, so that you find the global impediments and address those instead of doing local optimizations. The second way of DevOps is about amplifying feedback loops and acting upon that feedback. And the third way of DevOps is about culture of experimentation and learning. These are all the characteristics of agile organizations. So think DevOps when you think about how you would direct your agile transformation. This is something that the product owner of the transformation should keep in mind. Okay, well, one thing that you can do in order to boost the transformation in its early days is to move everyone in the organization and let them attend foundational training on agility. That helps because everyone will understand the benefits of agility. Everyone will understand after such a training, they would understand the principles of agility. They would be in the clear about why we do that. They would also have an opportunity to ask questions and get those questions answered. Any misconceptions would be cleared. And also, if they haven't already done anything as a Scrum team, if they haven't worked in a Scrum team, during such a training, they would get some first-hand experience of being a part of such a team. So, they would also learn the language, speak the same language afterwards, and learn the notion, understand what a sprint is, and what a product backlog, and so on. But beware, schedule such trainings in such a way that as soon as the trainings are done and people gain some new knowledge, they get an opportunity to exercise that knowledge instead of starting forgetting it. Okay, so Scrum is an empirical process, and it's driven by transparency, inspection, and adaptation, and ability to transparently inspect the state of the process is critical, and that's where we need metrics. And we propose the usage of different types of metrics in different contexts. So for the team level context, we propose the usage of flow metrics, which are usually used in Kanban, but can easily be used in Scrum teams as well. Things like cycle time, throughput, work in progress, work item age will tell you a lot about the flow of items through your development process. Accelerate type of metrics makes more sense at the product group level or the whole organizational level. They speak about the quality of DevOps capabilities of your organization. And then also evidence-based management introduces some metrics that can be used to drive the progress at the company-wide level. Okay, this is more of a tactical recommendation that might have profound influence on your transformation, on the scrums. So we propose that you start using liberating structures if you haven't used them yet. Liberating structures are a set of structures that can improve any interactions between people, any meetings, any type of collaboration. And they can be used to make Scrum events much more effective, and are especially useful when you reach out to stakeholders. Try to use them, and well, we are certain that you will benefit from it. These images are just an example of a shift and share, which is one of the liberating structures with which you can make very effective sprint reviews. Beware of zombie Scrum. Remember the statement by Ken Schwaber about 30%, which will be excellent. The 70% are zombies. Imagine your Scrum has all the right moves, but no beating heart. There are no Scrum values. You don't know what your stakeholders really need. You don't deliver value to the stakeholders. You don't improve continuously. You are managed from outside instead of being self-managing. If you recognize yourself in any of those sentences, well, you might be, your Scrum might be a zombie Scrum. So you should proactively think about whether there is some zombieism, if that's a word, in your Scrum and act against it. So beware of zombie Scrum. Okay, case studies. So we have 2 case studies of 2 widely different organizations, and it turned out that they are rather similar, and you will see how. So one is a web agency. Both are from Zagreb, Croatia, and so the web agency of about 10 people, just one Scrum team. And the other, so it's web marketing is the name of the company. And the other is the Omega Software, which is one of the major Croatian IT companies. And they have 10 Scrum teams and over 120 people in their engineering organization. And both have been doing their agile transformations for over 2 years now. And we've been helping them throughout their transformations. So there were many similarities in the challenges that they faced. Both had somewhat waterfallish processes that depended on the customer approvals, which introduced delays, which created havoc in the planning. And unclear accountabilities helped introduce micromanagement, which also didn't help. So in the case of smaller company, one of the founders tended to micromanage developers, changing priorities on a daily basis, which then caused frequent task switching, and well, everyone was crazy. And in the case of the bigger company, imagine a team that works on multiple projects, each project having its own project manager, and the project managers pulling each in their own direction. There you have task switching, unclear priorities, and all of this brings also problems with the quality, so higher numbers of bugs or technical debt created. So these were all similarities, all nice challenges to deal with, and obviously there were good reasons to start with the transformation. And they did start with their transformations, and fortunately there are still similarities. One very important similarity was that we had support from management at all levels in both companies throughout the transformation, and still do. And that was decisive for the success of those 2 transformations. And the majority of people in their engineering organizations and also outside their engineering organizations like sales have attended the foundational training. So they got jump-started, so to say, in their transformations. Interestingly enough, in both organizations, small and large, they needed some systemic level organizational changes, improvements, and also improvements at the level of each team. One of the most profound one, or the one with the most profound influence on their processes, was replacement of project-based teams with product-based teams. They used to have project-based teams. Starts the project, they create a team, and once the project is done, they kill the team and then let people wait until there is a new project. Assign them to another project where they become members of a new team, which is crazy, but many do that. And once we once we introduced product-based teams, which are long-lived, teams started maturing, and they can simply be assigned projects and can very well work on projects. So there is nothing against having projects, so teams working on projects, but you should provide opportunity for teams to mature, and that's what long-lived teams do. Okay, clear accountabilities helped a lot as well. So clear accountability for the product owner, Scrum Master, developers, created a lot of clarity and removed many opportunities for micromanagement and task switching, because, well, the people with those accountabilities were empowered and protected by the organization. That's what the context from above is about, to protect the teams so that they can do what they best can do, their process within a team. And micromanagement no more, and context switching no more. So these were two benefits that improved their processes tremendously. And also accountabilities and relationships between the team and project managers from the PMO, or team and people from the sales. All right. So one additional similarity was that, well, they still needed to deliver. Their business as usual couldn't wait for the transformation to happen. Despite the transformation, they continued to work on their products and deliver value to end users. And also, we were able to standardize the tools at the organizational level, which helped in different ways, helped implement tools for different tasks. The tools were already available and it was easy at hand. So that simplified a lot in different ways. Okay, this is an interesting part of the story. So remember the first way of DevOps and system thinking. So both organizations wanted to optimize the whole value stream, so including sales refinement, where they work on requirements, development, support, and some of those processes were modeled as Kanban, continuous flow, some as iterative incremental Scrum, and optimized, and we did optimize those processes. Okay, about the differences, well, some are obvious. In web marketing, with just 10 people, they didn't need the central optimization team. And we as external coaches were able to much more intimately, if you like, engage with the team. So I'm the product owner of the optimization process, and we worked with members of the team continuously. In the case of the bigger organization, they have the product owner of the COT, and yes, indeed, that's the executive sponsor, and external coaches are facilitators, are consultants, and we don't usually engage with every team. The teams are influenced by the increments of the COT's work. Okay, so what did we achieve, or those two organizations? First of all, their backlogs, including all the projects that they work for each team. Each team got one single unified backlog, controlled by one empowered product owner. And that product owner is the sole person accountable for balancing the priorities between different projects that team works on. So there are no others and the organization empowers the product owner, so also protects the product owner from possible influences. Okay, there are clear accountabilities, as I already mentioned, at the team level, so product owners, Scrum Master, developers, and the influence of that change on micromanagement has already been mentioned. Since everything is in one system, we standardized on Azure DevOps, but you could have used any other system that can provide similar services. The level of information transparency provided to the management was much higher than before. And so that improved their ability to drive the organization. And as I've already mentioned, different processes were differently modeled, so we used Kanban and Scrum as appropriate. And by having visualization, so the Kanban board for support, the support process was improved. There were two interesting optimizations in the smaller company. So this is a web agency that creates websites based on standardized modules. And once they achieved the ability to deliver a whole of one module within a sprint, that improved their ability to sustainably and predictably deliver. And that was a boost to their project planning and execution. So that was one extremely well result for them. And also, once they start splitting the UI UX work in small chunks, and when they introduced the workshops with end users, followed by prototyping and delivery and fast feedback, and doing that in short periods of time, they completely removed delays because based on or created through customer approvals. No more those types of delays. Okay, so we measured a lot. There are different metrics that we measured, and yes, those that we mentioned, they are all there. Well, we don't have time to go into details. This is another tool called delivery plans, where the product owner has the entirety of the product backlog for all the projects. So each the swim lane is one project, and the calendar time, so the columns are months and sprints. So everything is available here. This is the release plan visible in one view. And then you can drill in and see the items for a specific project if you like. Okay, and these are the Kanbans for the sales and for the refinement process. So now that I mentioned the refinement process, introduction of a refinement process had a profound effect on the quality of requirements. So we have a Kanban board and the full-blown process to refine the requirements. They go through different parts of that Kanban and end up being of much higher quality than before. And that means no more garbage in, garbage out. So higher quality requirements, high quality product. And not only that, by introducing strong definition of done, we also improve the quality of their increments. And this one is also important. We've introduced the business analyst and developer on duty. So there is that pair that takes care of any incoming second level support requests, which are exceptions, which can happen anytime. And could disturb the Scrum team doing the work based on the sprint backlog. So these do the triage and try to resolve those exceptional pieces of work without disturbing the team. So thus protecting the capacity of the team. Okay, the results that they achieved. 4 times improved cycle time for bugs, 7 times improved for impediments. Just 10% for the PBI, but let me remind you that these are the results achieved just in the second year of their improvement. They come on top of the improvements that they were able to achieve in the first year. Okay. So that was the story of Agile transformations based on Scrum. We invite you to run those transformations, to consider using empirical process in order to run the transformation. Don't forget the agility and organizational values. Don't forget the middle management and other things that we've mentioned. So thank you for your attention, and please let us know if you succeed and if you face any challenges in your transformations. Thanks.